So okay, let's maybe continue with the third story as well.
Okay.
This is the third interesting story was the independent yogic village republic of Sorade, right? Sorade. So okay, this is the Malnad region in Karnataka. Let's talk about that yogic village republic of Sorade.
Sorade is a small village. Its present name is Choradi, Choradi.
Okay.
And it is about 30 kilometers from Shimoga on the route to Sagar. You can also approach it from the other side, but this is the shortest. This is, what did you say, page 80 here?
The last...
No. There you go. So, Now, this is one of the earliest inscriptions that we find in Karnataka's history. It occurs during the Kadamba rule. Kadambas are one of the founding fathers of the Karnataka civilization or the Kannada civilization. And today the population of Choradi or Sorade is about 2,500 people. And I visited that place about 3-4 years back before COVID.
Okay.
I visited that place. There's one temple out there and, it's quite disappointing after you read its history and the past, the beautiful past with the unrecognizable present. It's quite a contrast. But anyway, they didn't know their own history in that sense, although I'm not faulting them. So this inscription is dated in the 4th or the 5th century CE. Like I said, during the Kadamba rule. And it is written in Halagannada. And when the archaeologists dug out, they found this inscription. It was located in the backyard of a farmer.
Okay.
And when they read it is in Halagannada. It claims, Sorade, the inscription claims that Sorade is an independent village republic, which is what our village republics had always been. So this story, this inscription reinforces a very, very a big tragedy. The amount of centralization that has occurred after India got political freedom has been brutal. The Hindu civilization was always made up of fiercely independent village republics, which owed allegiance to a central power. But courts, justice, economy, every village was a self-contained economic unit. So, every village was an independent economic unit. It had its own court in the form of panchayati. It was, like I said, it was pretty much independent and they prized their independence. But they were also aware that their survival depends on a strong military central state which will protect them from physical harm. Which is why they would smilingly, without any grudge, they would pay tax to the central treasury. So it was a beautiful, well-oiled machinery. But anyway, we are, living in tragic times. And Sorade, that inscription says that we do not owe any allegiance to any king, and so on it goes. And it says, this village, an Agrahara, is a... sorry, wait, hang on. It's not that. There you go. So, the people of Sorade, this is how they describe themselves in this inscription. All the inhabitants of this ancient Agrahara of Sorade are devoted to the observance of pranayama and other yogic practices and are fully in control of their sense organs. So it's like a dream village. And not only that, what happened when their independence was tampered with? that gave rise to this inscription. Once, there's a Kadamba ruler called Tailappa. One of his officers, military officers, as usual, like cops today, so drunk with power, arrogant, they launched an unprovoked raid against Sorade village and stole their cattle. And though their people, the villagers did not, take it lying down. So they launched a counter-attack, and the village police chief, Talavara, is a police chief. So his name was Chiladalara Bopadalara. These are all Kannada names. Okay. And he took them on single-handedly. The, gang of thieves, unleashed by that arrogant officer, he took them on single-handedly, defeated them, bet them back, and took back the cattle, but unfortunately lost his life. And, the people celebrated his great sacrifice, and they, granted some piece of land to his family so that they do not fall into hardship. And, that inscription declares that this brave police chief who died for protecting this village, he has attained Suraloka, meaning heaven, Svarga. And this is what he says. Bopadalara Kadi means fight. Fought. Suraloka Praptan Adade means because he lost his life fighting and went to Svarga, we are making this grant of this land. And then he says, this is the beauty out here in this inscription. He says, all the inhabitants of this ancient Agrahara of Sorade, devoted to the observance of pranayama and other yoga practices, all of them assembled in thousands, made a gift of a wet land and a dry field together with the remission of house tax and family tax to Chiladalara Bopadalara in appreciation of victory he won against the royal cow lifters on their way to make a raid of cows in our village. Whoever takes away this gift will be cast out of the country. Meaning this grant of land, which has been given to his dependents, that Chiladalara Bopadalara, his dependents, whoever tries to tamper with that will be cast out, expelled from the village. So this is the spirit. This is such a heroic and noble spirit. And look at the state of our villages today. Petty politicking.
And it is all dependent on something. They are not independent.
It's quite tragic, So this is a story of Sorade.
And I'm sure there must have been numerous villages like this which are independent on their own. They had their own.
Yes, they had their own. Most villages had their own charters like this.
And like you said, they all paid tax to a central power who's the king or a kingdom or whatever. But my question, now that the key, the takeaways of this story also you already mentioned, but overall when you look at it, right, what today we have like a central government and then state governments, right, and then some people saying that we want separatism, so that there is a separatism also going on a different track. So now when I see that there is an independent village, independent republic working on its own, they just pay tax to the central area. So how do I sort of correlate this? Is it the same or is it completely different?
No, it's completely no. Look, you're mixing up two different things.
I'm saying like these questions will come.
No, you're mixing up two different things. I'll tell the simplest way to understand this. Okay. This was a homogeneous culture and society who shared the same values, who shared the same dharma, who shared pretty much the same traditions. Example, sanctity for the cow. sanctity of food. Why sanctity of whole life itself, from birth to death? The practice of going on pilgrimages. Okay, although the actual practical aspects varied, marriages were pretty much the same. Meaning they had the same foundations. The practice might vary from one community to another, but the foundation on which marriage was based was the same. Meaning it was pretty much a consistent, harmonious Hindu society made up of different components. Okay. Now you transpose this same harmony to the realm of, say, administration. All right. So a village was independent in the sense that it did not need to look outside, look to external support or help, except for physical aggression. Everything was provided for, taken care of within the village, using its own resources. So Panchayat performed a variety of functions, including administration, including temple management, including collection of taxes. It also functioned as courts. It had the power to appoint policemen. It had the power to appoint or dismiss dharmadikaris of temple. It had the power to award punishments. What else do you need, sir? Essentially, a government and judiciary, the entire machinery. Plus, independence has to be guarded. Like they say, vigilance is the price of freedom.
Yeah.
So for that, you had a police, small kind of a police system to guard, safeguard your thing. But if there was external invasion, which nobody can predict, right? How do you protect yourself? At the most, let us say a village with a population of 2,000. One army of 2,000 will come, well-trained, proper soldiers. These villages won't stand a chance before them. 2 minutes, they are gone, right? So, for your defense, your physical defense, this village, although it was a independent republic in one sense, independent republic meaning the last unit of governance, you had independence to that extent. You could not declare yourself as independent from one kingdom, jurisdiction under which you were located, under which that village was located. Make sense?
Yeah.
So this is what it is. Now, to your question about these fellows who are,
calling
the separatist ideologies, mostly led from the front by these fellows, the Dravidian fellows. This is not new. This has a history of more than 100 years.
Yeah.
Especially in Tamil Nadu.
Yeah.
All right. What they want is that this is a technique for blackmail. On one hand, assuming that the central government says, okay, you declare independence, take a separate Tamil Nadu. How do you think it will survive, sir? With its own government. Who will give it a military force, an army, an air force, a navy?
Right.
All right. So from one angle, yes, it is blackmail, but we should always be alert to the fact that this can happen in a different way.
Yeah.
Example, Pakistan.
Yeah.
All right. So it is not independence they are asking for. It is to perpetuate one family rule or rule of one particular ideology or whatever you want to call it. It is that they are asking for. This is different from this system.
Correct. Yeah.
They have no good intention to, have a harmony. Okay, if this whatever this Tamil Nadu, this Dravidian thing was so pure, and if the promised land will be full of milk and honey and total equality and egalitarianism and prosperity and all the nice things, why hasn't it already happened? These people have been in power for the last 60, 65 years.
65 years, yes.
Why are they still fighting within the same society, boss?
Correct.
This is separatism for its own sake.
For its own political power.
Yeah. selfish reasons. Let's put it very, very simply. Pakistan got a separate nation carved out in the name of a alleged religion of peace. It is anything but peaceful.
Yeah.
75 years of history can't be wrong.
Yeah. And now we know the economic condition also.
Right.
Yeah.
It can't be wrong. It is a hellhole.
Right.
So that danger is also always there. You see how, whatever rhetoric, whatever ideology, you tell me how it translates in real life. Then that is the only test for its validity. Some of these things, principles, all these values that have been fashioned that I write in this book, they are the outcomes of centuries of trial and error.
Yeah.
They didn't just happen overnight or because some Ramaswamy Nayaka wrote some nonsense or some other guy wrote some kind of scripture.
Yeah. Your book itself is spanning from 9th century to 17th century, which is like 800 years.
800 years.
800 years and the stories are so similar, as in the takeaways are so similar.
Exactly. Yeah. So it is a book that shows values.
Yeah.
Values that built our civilization, that sustained our civilization.
Yeah.
On every page you see these values.
Correct.
Not just in this book, but in our history. This is what we see.
Correct.
So what are some of the values that have been celebrated here? Dhanam, living a righteous life, honoring women, worshipping and honoring and safeguarding cows, cattle basically, respecting elders, being true to the word that you have given.
Yeah.
Heroism, valor, these are celebrated.
Yeah.
And these have been institutionalized by making them a part of your daily life. I'll give you one more example from, I think, in this one of those inscriptions. No, I know it. So, punishment, for example, depending on the severity of offense. We did not prescribe extremely harsh punishments, except when the crime was really bad. Typically for things like theft and that kind of thing, what they would do is to impose a fine of, say, giving X number of cows to the victim of your crime. Or if you didn't have cows, you had to pay an equivalent amount of money, to purchase X number of cows. Or you had to go to the village temple every single evening and light lamps, say 500 lamps or 1,000 lamps, or light all the lamps in the temple for 6 months. What is going to happen to even the most hardened criminal if he does that?
Yeah.
You go there in the evening, every evening you have to go. It is a punishment for you, remember. He's not going there out of devotion.
Yeah.
It begins as a punishment.
Then it becomes a service itself.
Okay. And then the transformation happens. Every day you're going there, lighting 500,000 lamps, whatever. You do this for 6 months. You will become a completely new man.
Yeah.
So, to that extent, after 6 months you keep doing this. To that extent, the propensity to commit more crimes is gone. To that extent, the asuric tendencies within us, within all human beings, is mitigated.
Yeah.
This is why we didn't have, fat law books with thousands of unreadable sections that we today have.
Yeah.
Most of it would be solved within the village itself.
Yeah.
Unless it was like too brutal a crime. We have examples for that also. But this was typically the norm.
Yeah.
Go and feed the cow. Or, go and, water the garden in this village or the garden in a temple. Or help in digging a kalyani or a lake. These were the typical punishments that were awarded. So these are, no books can teach you this, sir. This is the product of evolution, refinement, tempering, and the result of a long process, centuries of trial and error that will formalize these kinds of things as punishments.
Yeah.
You can't do this through theory.
Yeah. I mean, although we live in a very because the stories from Inscription itself is like a physical evidence that we started off with, but we live in a materialistic world where everything is tested by matter, right? Everything is tested by physical things. That if you do something, give me the proof. That's what the first question that everybody asks. Even science is also behind proofs. But something like Sanatana Dharma or the values that we followed or we have to follow cannot be sort of materialized. It's something which is the spirit. The spirit which was which was widespread among so many different regions across Bharata or India, right? That was the common factor which binded everything together. And these inscriptions only add as for the sake of a proof seeker. It adds as a thing.
That's why he said this inscriptions are one of the best, if not, not best, most reliable sources to reconstruct our history.
Correct. Yeah. And that this inscription was also the base, if I can say, was also the primary evidence for the Ram Janmabhoomi temple that we see today.
Among other things,
Among other things, right? This was one of the primary evidence. So that is the relevance that we find even today also. One more question that I wanted to ask is that the reason for invasions in India, right? This has been there in my mind because there were these fighting kingdoms that were fighting with each other. There was the room for the third person to come in, and although the fighting regions were following, they had this same spirit of dharma among them, with all the values.
Hindus only, yes.
They were all Hindus. But then there came another person who defied all of that and then started doing and then just mixed up so many things, and then that's how the invasion and all these 1,300 years of Middle Eastern and
less than 1,000 years.
Less than 1,000 years of Middle East plus the European civilization also, right? Because of these warring kingdoms is what that happened, right?
Internal warfare.
Right. So the question is, at that time, because they were all separate kingdoms, the argument from most of the things that I've heard on the internet was there was no, because they don't understand the spirit of Sanatana Dharma, they were saying there was no India as such at that time. It was all separate kingdoms, and they came and they sort of united us.
To an extent, yes. What you're talking about is political, geographical unity under a single political system, which is what the British did. We have to accept it. All right? The landmass that we call India today, after 1947 till now, no single country, no single empire or no single king throughout our history had this amount of landmass under his rule. That is also truth of history. Now, when you talk about unity, the cultural unity of India was always in our DNA. It was always in our consciousness and subconscious. Nothing else explains our tradition of Tirtha Kshetras. Nothing else explains the uniformity and recognition and reverence for the same deities throughout India. Rama is the same in Bangalore. He is the same in Bengal. He is the same in Assam. He is the same in Gujarat. He is the same in Ayodhya. All right? Dashavatara, all of the entire country recognizes it. These are the elements of unity. This is cultural unity, which was always there, which is still there in our consciousness. So, when you make this argument that, we were never united politically under one single umbrella, this land mass. Fine, so what?
So what? Yeah.
So what?
Yeah. We need not follow that model of governance.
Look, if you didn't have this concept of Hindus from time immemorial knew their borders well. What constitutes Bharatavarsha, what does not? What constitutes outside Bharatavarsha? One of the greatest unifiers is Adi Shankaracharya. He is from Kaladi, Kerala.
Yeah.
And he had his last journey in Badrinath. Where is Kaladi? Where is Badrinath?
Yeah.
And his message resonated throughout his journey. Right?
Yeah.
How many Shankar Peethas? 4 Shankar Matas are there.
Correct.
But the number of innumerable Sampradayas which trace their descent, which trace their origin to Adi Shankaracharya, there are hundreds of numbers spread across India.
Yeah. And between...
How did he resonate with, such a diverse geography?
Yeah.
This unity was always there. As simple. Why are our literature, you forget sacred literature, forget your Vedas, all these things. Take, say, Sanskrit literature or Telugu literature or classical Kannada, all these things. They were known by poets sitting somewhere here in, say, in Hampi. Krishnadevaraya's Asthanam had extraordinary, well accomplished poets in 6-7 languages. His mother tongue was Tulu. What explains all this?
Yeah.
Why would Mallinatha Suri write, Kolachala Mallinatha? Why did he, sitting in Andhra, why did he write commentaries on Kalidasa's literature? Why are all our art forms, especially, what is known as dance forms and even drama, why do we trace their moola, their origin to Bharata Muni's Natya Shastra?
Yeah.
Bharata Muni was living sometimes, if I am not mistaken, somewhere roughly in one of the areas in Pakistan today.
North first.
So, what explains that? If this does not explain unity, how many examples do you want? I can keep giving.
Yeah.
If this does not establish unity, what else does? So this, the people who ask these questions, they are not asking you these questions out of a genuine spirit of learning. They are either being mischievous or perverted, or they want to, put you down for some weird reason. But most of all, they are asking this because they've already somehow proved, they're convinced that India was never one country.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Don't engage them, pity them, all right? And offer them, so help to, appointment with some psychiatrist or something. That's all it is.
With that note, we'll conclude this, sir. Thank you so much. And that I think you have given it's like a slap and a caress that you have given. Thank you so much for this. And
thanks for having me.
I hope we will have more and more podcasts like this
we
coming
can do
forward.
That.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste.